You are watching the J Blues Show.
Hey everybody, it's now time for the Review Corner. Today we're with Mr. Gary Clark. How are you today, Mr. Clark?
Well, fine, thank you, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm great. Now, tell us a little bit about these albums we're going to be talking about today.
Well, we're going to start off with something. This is a special find that you happen to have discovered on your own. This is one of those rare thrift store finds that sometimes you run across by accident. This happened to be in the sleeve of another album. You didn't even know until you bought it.
That's right.
And if you're looking, this looks smaller than an album because it's not actually an album. It is a 78. It is heavier, though, in your grams weight than a regular traditional size album. And it's played on a 78 RPM turntable. And if you look at your records that are various speed turntables, you might even find where you have 45s that you play and your 33 LP albums. But if you take 45 and 33 and add them together, they just happen to come up to the number 78. So when you switch gears on your turntable for another speed, some turntables were made to even include to be able to play this type of record that really hasn't been produced since the late 1950s. Well, we've talked enough about the mechanics of the record, and what we have here is a very excellent copy of Love Me Tender by the King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley.
You are watching the J Blues Show.
What do you got for us today, Mr. Clark?
Well, this happens to be an album that I had pulled out, and I remember it was a particular piece that I had written a review on for my old college newspaper back in '79.
Oh, that's cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is A Briefcase Full of Blues by the Blues Brothers, and it was released in late 1978, but in early '79 it had gone double platinum and #1 on the Billboard Top 200 charts.
Wow.
With the top song out of that album being Soul Man, an old Sam and Dave song.
Good loving, I got a truckload, and when you get it, you got something. So don't worry, 'cause I'm coming. I'm a soul man.
Which one charted higher?
I don't
The
really...
Sam and Dave or this one?
I believe the Sam and Dave one did.
Okay.
It's not one of those deals like you remember...
Because, for instance,
well,
Blue Suede Shoes by Carl Perkins and then Elvis's version.
Blue Suede Shoes was written by Carl Perkins. And when you think of it, Elvis was not covered by Carl.
Right.
Carl's the original, and he did chart higher than Elvis did on that particular song.
A lot of people know Soul Man by the Blues Brothers rather than Sam and Dave because of the movie. And that's one of my questions. Is this a prequel or a sequel to the movie?
Okay, well, one of the things, too, is you got to consider your age of your listening audience at the time. And there may be people who are more familiar with the Blues Brothers opposed to knowing about Sam and Dave.
You are watching the J Blues Show.
Hey everybody, you're watching the Review Corner, and we're here with Mr. Clark, and today we're going to be reviewing Faith. Tell us a little bit about this album.
Okay, well, you know, George Michael, if you happen to remember him, this was his solo effort, and for about 5 years beforehand, he was a member of the group Wham. Their big song was Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Yeah, I know that song.
And
That
this,
was kind of a one-hit wonder, though, wasn't it?
well, Wham had been big in the UK, and this is what brought them over to the U.S. And again, we're going back
George
to
Michael.
Yes, we're going back to the early MTV era, VH1. You know, that's one of those.
Speaking
things.
of MTV, have you ever seen the video for this? For the song "Faith" that the album's titled.
Yeah, I recall seeing that, and it's.
He's wearing like a motorcycle jacket.
Right. And on the jukebox, they're kind of playing some of the strains from "I Want Your Sex," and that's actually a lead-on for the music video. And then they have
He's tapping
him.
his foot, and
tapping
then
his
you
foot.
hear these church bells.
Yeah, and Faith.
I've got a body like you, but I gotta think twice before I give my heart away. And I know all the games you play because I play them too. Oh, but I need some time off from that emotion. Time to pick my heart up off the floor. Oh, when that love comes down with a devotion, what it takes is strong.
You are watching the J Blues Show.
It looks like you got the traveling Wilburys here.
You know, this is an all-time favorite of mine. It's Traveling Wilburys Volume 1 that was released in 1988. And a strange thing about it, the follow-up album to this was Traveling Wilburys Volume 3 in 1990. Now don't ask
What
me.
happened to Volume 2?
I have no idea. But later on, they did have a box set, and I believe that maybe some of what you could call intended for Volume 2 is there in the box set.
As long as you lend a hand, you can sit around and wait for the phone to ring, waiting for someone to tell you everything. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Maybe a diamond ring. Well, it's alright, even if the sea.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. You've been a very influential piece of my show. It was great having you, and keep watching the J Blues Show.
Thank you, and hope to keep working with you again sometime.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.